going through an unwanted divorce filing and separation from my wife and being in my house by myself, I think was 10 times worse than the walk that it took me to come out of cancer. When I tell you I understand that, I literally understand that. But here's the thing. If you're there, you have two options. Follow the leadership of the other person, which oftentimes will ruin everybody's life, including yours, or decide to do something differently. Listen to me. Every single text message is an opportunity to turn the train around. And I promise you, if you're watching this video right now, you have no idea how easy it is and how the simplest text message that has nothing to do with the marriage or the relationship can 100% turn your train around.
You just got to be coachable.
Men, the admission for today's video is only one thing. Press that like button, but more importantly for you, press the subscribe button and change the settings to all. If you're trying to save your marriage and you want to know how to do it, make sure after you hit the subscribe button that you do change those settings to all, because YouTube is suppressing the content and I don't want you to miss one single video that could actually help you save your marriage.
All right, so joining me today is Scott, and Scott is walking in his integrity because he has a heart to serve other men that maybe are in the shoes that Scott was whenever he found me on YouTube, which ultimately led to Scott saying, hey, I need to take more action than just the information that I'm getting on YouTube. And while that may be wonderful, but some situations, some areas of leadership, some marriages are so uniquely in a place that's not in line with where everybody wants to take their life individually, collectively, with the marriage, with the family. And that sometimes YouTube is not going to be information that you can put all the pieces of the puzzles together to put everything together in a way that makes sense to help you take the steps necessary in order to make and bring about psychological change in yourself. Scott's going to share his experience of where he was when he started and what the walk has been like. And full transparency, the whole purpose when I do these calls is literally to pit the program DivorceStoppers for men that it makes sense to take action to do that. It doesn't make sense for everybody to do that. But for somebody that it does make sense, today a lot of men will be watching this video that it makes sense for them to do it. And maybe they've been watching videos for a while, but they haven't took action yet. A lot of people that do need to take action, hopefully you can convince them that it's not just Denver trying to get another sale, that it's their life. And for a lot of people watching this, maybe this is a wake-up call to have the life that they want, to start driving the train of their own future. And instead of somebody else having that steering wheel and they don't know how to grab it, that they might actually need to do something different besides just being addicted to the content on YouTube. YouTube is information. Inside DivorceStoppers, the goal is always to quickly, but also slowly, to bring about transformation. And slowly, by that, I mean 7 weeks, because that's how long it takes to learn everything that you need to learn to actually change your life and to lead other people to the place that you're responsible for. You have responsibilities to do the same for them. So, Scott, welcome to the program. Let me ask you a question. What was it like for you when your wife said, I want out?
It was a total gut punch, just totally unprepared to receive that news, had no idea how to react to that, and just totally devastating, million things crossing through your mind, but I mean, again, a gut punch, like one of the worst feelings, probably the worst feeling I've ever had.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I remember going through that myself, and I can literally say, for anybody that's watched the YouTube channel for a while, if you know me at all, you've heard me talk about my walk going through stage 4 throat cancer. A really, really bad thing. I had 3 doctors tell me, 3 specialists say, you got 6 months to live. You need to be on hospice. We're going to remove your tongue, take skin off of your arm and build you a new tongue. You'll never be able to talk again, but you might be able to scarf down food until you die. And so why am I sharing that with you? Going through an unwanted divorce filing and separation from my wife and being in my house by myself, I think was 10 times worse than the walk that it took me to come out of cancer. And so when I tell you I understand that, I literally understand. It literally was the worst thing I've ever been through in my life. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. But here's the thing. If you're there, you have two options. Follow the leadership of the other person, which oftentimes will ruin everybody's life, including yours, or decide to do something differently. And nobody feels like really doing anything because the world has equipped you to go through a divorce and to have a really shitty life afterwards and be depressed for at least, because what's normal is a man will go through a divorce when he's facing marriage or relationship problems. He'll lose pretty much everything that he owns or at least half of it, but he'll lose his health. He'll age 10 years and 6 months. You get in a place that's not healthy physically, even though one of the good side effects oftentimes of a relationship problem to the point that it escalates to divorce and separation, it does have some added health benefits, oftentimes of some extreme weight loss. That was my experience anyway. And I didn't need to lose weight. I was trying to gain weight. But with that being said, I think put in the comments if you can relate to where I was and where Scott is telling you he was just a few short weeks ago. As a man, as you were going through that, how did that actually hit you? Like losing her and losing yourself at the same time? Or is that the way that you responded to that?
Yeah, no, I mean, losing her, I felt my identity was wrapped up in being a husband and a father and a family man. And I thought everything I had done, or almost everything I was done, was previously for our marriage was focused on the marriage. I felt like I sacrificed things. I thought it was for the marriage, and we'll probably get to that, but realizing that you can't do that. You can't neglect yourself. And it took a while to realize that and to get through that, of the focus can't be on the marriage. It can't be on the relationship solely. It doesn't work. It didn't work.
Well, not only did it not work for you, it doesn't work for the man, it doesn't work for the husband, it doesn't work for the wife. You can have a marriage with two people with really, really good hearts. And let's say the whole marriage, the wife has always put her husband first. A few weeks ago, I did a client testimonial with a student, and his wife, she actually hijacked our call. Her name was Annie. Beautiful, powerful, entrepreneur, Indian woman that had her shit together, running her own company, also serving in the community as a professor at a university. But she literally said something on that call when she come in to share her experience of the changes her husband had made and how it had affected her and her career and what she was doing as a CEO, as a teacher, as an individual, and as a wife. She said that I learned how to start putting myself first. I have always put my husband first, and she saw how that contributed to the downfall of the marriage. Well, you're paraphrasing or parroting exactly what she said. When you put your wife first, the responsibility for the success of the marriage, the responsibility for your spouse's happiness, it literally puts that pressure on them. And when you put somebody in a pressure cooker of that kind of responsibility with good intentions, as I did, but I also did it out of ignorance because I thought that's what you're supposed to do, is put them first. But when you put somebody first in a marriage, it's pressure, and pressure will always do one of two things. The pot will explode. I remember my grandmother and my mother they put them in a pressure cooker to seal them. So it'd last for years. But I remember on the top of that pressure thing where they were doing that, it had a pressure relief valve, and that steam would build up and it would put so much pressure that it would permanently seal those glass jars. But what it would also do so it didn't explode was it would start whistling because the steam would come out. The pressure relief valve is an enemy of the marriage. It's usually a miserable person that's been in after failed relationship for themselves. Maybe that person was abused and has childhood trauma. The point being, it's usually an unhappy person. And when you put enough pressure on your spouse in a marriage, not only are they maybe not happy with where they have turned out in their own life personally, which may have nothing to do with you. It could be hormones. It could be depression medication. It could be all types of chemicals. It could be a mental issue, whether a mental illness or a mental disorder, whatever reason, may have nothing to do with you. And they're already dealing with that themselves. But then you come in and put them first. Now that responsibility for you to be happy and for the marriage is unintentionally placed on them. Pressure will always find an outlet. Sometimes the outlet is their counselor, which is almost always an enemy of the marriage. Maybe it's their mother-in-law. Maybe it's a hoochie best friend. Maybe it's an affair partner, whether emotional or physical. All of those things are not the reasons marriages end. Those are the fruit of a failed marriage. A lot of times people say, Denver, my wife's already divorced me and she's living with another man. Do I have a chance? Should I do this? Well, where are you at right now? I'm miserable. I haven't been sleeping. I've lost 40 pounds. My life's gone to hell in a handbasket. Should I give up? What have you done so far? I gave my marriage to God. Well, hate to burst your bubble. The Bible says that you found a gift from the Lord if you have a wife. He wants you to give your life to him, but not your marriage. He wants you to take responsibility to be transformed by the renewing of your mind, start thinking different thoughts. The Bible says out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. When you start thinking different by being transformed in your mind, it changes your heart, which changes what you're speaking. Now, all of a sudden, for the first time in your life, you're equipped to actually see other people in a way you've never seen them before. See, hear, and value other people. When you do that, you start creating intimacy with the people around you. So what was your experience of like that? You're in the program. You start taking your first step. Step one, communication. The number one thing missing from every program that's out there is communication. Does no contact work in your opinion?
No.
You can't restore intimacy and make somebody feel seen, heard, and valued if you're not talking to them. That's stupid. It works if you're a college student, your girlfriend of 2 weeks broke up. It always works. In that example, but in a long-term marriage, it doesn't. When you look back on yourself, I just want you to think about step one of the program. Before step one, I was blind. But when you really get what I teach in the first step of the DivorceStoppers program, it's amazing grace. But now I see. When you start seeing, so now that you have the ability to see, if you look back on yourself, do you even recognize that man anymore?
I don't, honestly. And I think you said the word intentions. Like, I always thought I had good intentions. I used the model of my parents and that generation where being a provider was the man's responsibility.
Yeah.
So I always kind of thought that. That's what I tried to do. But honestly, it was about me. I always said, if somebody's talking to me, instead of listening, planning what the next thing I need to say is and not listening. And I did that with my kids. I did it professionally. But now it's okay to have the pause. It's okay. I don't have to, there can be 5-second pause from when the person's speaking to when I talk. I don't have to have the response immediately. My colleagues have noted it, wow, you're listening more. You're not jumping. We can tell you're processing it. And I didn't do that. I don't think I did that with anybody.
Your colleagues are basically saying, we notice your leadership has changed. And the reason they're expressing that to you is all of a sudden you've become a light and you're shining brighter. Light always attracts. Well, how do I know that happened for you? Because you just told me my colleagues are coming to me and telling me all of a sudden you're making me feel heard, valued, and seen. Yeah, they're telling you that they're noticed that you're taking time to process. That's beautiful. But the reason they're sharing that with you is because for the first time in a while, you're making them feel heard. You probably always had the intentions to listen to your team, but you don't know what you don't know, and you'll never know it until you find somebody to teach you that. Is that your experience?
Definitely is. Never had any education, any guidance or leadership in this. Maybe a tiny little bit on taking a personality test with different assessments, your style, but that's kind of where it ended. Like, oh, here's your style, but nothing truly on how you need to make or how to get people to be seen and heard. Yeah, I look back and I can think of so many situations where if I could go back and change it, I would, but you can't. So but it's an incredible difference.
What you're bringing up right now. So the reason I haven't said this in a while, but used to in all of my videos, I would always say that the goal inside the DivorceStoppers program for anybody that's facing an unwanted divorce, you're actively in separation, but it's going more separation, more like you might be in denial that you're heading to divorce, but if you're not heading to restoration, you are heading to game over forever. You are heading to divorce. You are heading to the relationship never being restored and her ending up with another man permanently and you both having lifelong regrets. Almost 80% of women surveyed that got divorced and remarried, literally in confidential surveys, say they made a mistake and they still wish they were married to their ex-husband because the 20% of the things that he was missing, right? This new guy had those 20%, but he doesn't have the 80% that she fell in love with her first husband, that she grew to resent, that this actually were the reasons that she fell in love with him. And what you're bringing up right now is confirming this. No contact will never, ever, ever, ever work. And one of the things I was getting to earlier is that what does work? Communication, the right kind of communication. but it's how you do it. It's the timing and the tone, but it's also the words. And you'll never have the correct communication until you see somebody, which brings me to this. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, I've been talking about this now for 3 weeks of our upcoming text message training. Listen to me. Every single text message is an opportunity to turn the train around. And I promise you, if you're watching this video right now, you have no idea how easy it is and how the simplest text message that has nothing to do with the marriage or the relationship can 100% turn your train around. If your train is heading to divorce, it's heading to game over, it's in separation, and you think, I don't know, this is beyond repair. In 7 days, you can put the brakes on, stick it in reverse, and start heading back the other way. 100%. How? You are 2 to 3 text messages away from turning the train around. I didn't say in 7 days we're going to restore it, and you guys are soulmates, mutual orgasms, intimacy like you've never experienced in 7 days. I said 7 days to turn it around, to head back to that place. The journey to learn everything that you need for the transformation to be real in you is 7 weeks, right? A lot of marriages in the program get restored at 7 weeks, and some takes a little longer. But everything that you need, you're equipped with by week 7. So why am I bringing up communication? If you're not already subscribed to this channel, and next week, so just in a few days, I'm going to be doing a free text message training, and you want to register for that. And the way that you're going to do that is put in the comments right now, Denver, I desperately need the free text message training. We're not going to respond to the comments until we have the registration link. So if you put another comment in the channel right now about something besides you want that free training, then we'll respond. But if it's the text message training, we're not going to respond. We're going to respond to all of them at once with the link to register for that. Scott, you're on the inside, so you get text message training in the program. And not only do you get it day 1, you get it all 7 weeks. You get the opportunity for us to review your text messages. If you get messed up, how do you make them more powerful? For the men that are not in the program though right now, and they're just like, maybe I want to check this out and see if this guy's full of shit. Can you really turn a train around with a text message about the dog groomer? Tell them that what they're about to learn in that training, because of what you've learned, how powerful it is when step 1 lands.
It really is. The text message training gives you the tools. It's telling you it's still at 3 Ps, positive, polite, and playful, putting in emojis, just being thoughtful with it and really approaching it being fun. You're not ever being negative or questioning, but really the goal is to get conversation going, to ask a question, to be interested, to make sure your wife is seen, heard, and validated. And it doesn't happen the first text. It takes a while in that first week, but it lands and you notice a difference. They notice a difference. It makes them curious what's going on, taking a different approach. He's not just coming at me with firing away questions or logistics. It's, hey, how are you doing? And making light of something, or just, it's transformational. But I still listen to it. I've been in the program for a while and I still go back to that training. Helpful, pervades everything. And Denver, you've talked about it, not only with your wife, but with your kids, your grandkids, other people. It changes how you communicate and just, it opens up intimacy with everybody in your life. Game changing.
I would go so far as to say that I take surveys ever so often. I hire this third-party company to come in and audit my company to see where else we could be successful, where we're showing up how we should, but where's an opportunity for improvement. One of the surveys is that we've done this every 3 years since 2000, I guess, and since 2014 or 15. And one of the surveys that the questions we've always asked is, did what you went through in this life experience to restore your marriage, with that being the goal, did it affect your income once you became a graduate of the program? And this survey responded was students that had their marriage restored and they had been out of the program for 2 years. Was your marriage still restored? And did this affect your income, what you learned in the program? 100% have always said yes. The last time we did this, which was about 3 years ago, probably about time to do it again, we asked this additional question we never asked before. Has it increased your income? We had 76% of the people that responded. 100% said it increased their income significantly. 76% responded and said that it had increased their income by over 100%. Let me tell you why I think that is. Because what I'm teaching the first week in the program that you implement and practice the second week, the third week, the seventh week, and the rest of your life. It's teaching you how to build intimacy and see the value, even financially, in other relationships, whereas before you would have overlooked it. You were the one giving the value. You were the smartest one in the room. You were the one telling everybody what to do, which in some capacity, maybe there's some sense to that. But how do you grow as a person? The Bible says iron sharpens iron. Fellowship. It is very normal. Now, the way that we teach communication to restore your marriage, that carries over into your children, your grandchildren, your employer, your employees, your customers, if you're an entrepreneur. And it literally is a game changer. What I'm teaching in step 1.1, I do financial coaching 2 to 3 times a year at seminars. The key to multi-millionaire status or billionaire status with all the AI we have access to now, I teach it in step 1 of the program. The intentions of the teaching is to restore the marriage. The side effect of that medicine is that it changes your life. If you know that you need that upcoming text message training, make sure you're subscribed. Go to the comments right now and say, Denver, I'm subscribed. I desperately need the free text message training, and my team will make sure that you're included in that training that's coming up. Scott, you've been equipped with new eyes. Now you have the ability to see. Did you try other things before you found the DivorceStoppers program?
I had listened to some other YouTube videos. John
Who were you listening? Yeah. Anybody else?
Nobody else specifically that I recall, but some like self-help books and other things on some books and things on developing intimacy and things like that. But none of that worked anywhere. It didn't work. It didn't work until I joined this program.
The stuff that you were learning from the people that you were watching and the books that you were reading, what didn't work about that for you?
I don't think it got at the motivation or the reason explaining why you need to do these steps, why these steps work, why this approach works. And I think that when I came to this program, that was an immediate difference. To explain why you're doing this. These are certain rules you need to follow in terms of the texting and communication, but you explained why, and he gave examples as to why this method doesn't work and why this method does, what it's doing to your wife, how it's making her think, how it's making her react and respond. And that to me was the difference. Like somebody can tell you what to do, but if you don't really believe it or buy into it, I think I was like, oh, okay, I'll try this. But once you explain why you're doing it and why it's so important and effective, that really clicked.
Well, I'm glad that you brought that up. And I think one of the things you've got to ask yourself this, if you're looking, like if you know that you're not going to restore this marriage on your own, like you've tried, you've been waiting for 30 days, 60 days, 6 months, the divorce is filed, maybe the divorce is finalized, but she's not remarried and you still would like to restore that marriage. If that's where you're at and you know, like you've tried stuff, you've looked at videos, you've read books, but you don't understand the why, well, maybe you have to look at who's teaching you. And I think there's a lot of wisdom to look at who is teaching you. You know, there's a lot of marriage counselors out there, but it typically doesn't work. Why? It's what I say all the time. God doesn't always call the qualified. He qualifies the call. Guess how I understand uniquely the why behind it myself? Because I was the first student in the program. And the things that I'm teaching, I understand the reason behind what I was doing when I was testing all of this stuff in my own marriage, because I wanted to restore my marriage. My wife and I were separated for 6 months. And I think we actually still have an active divorce. It's been active for years because I don't know that anybody ever filed a motion to dismiss that. But understanding why. So you got to ask yourself, what books are you reading? Who are you watching on YouTube or TikTok? Has this person been in a situation where they were facing an unwanted divorce and they figured out how to navigate the waters to restore their own relationship? Or has this person maybe, went to college and they got a counseling degree? All of a sudden they found that their father, his mother left him, and then, that devastated the family. It hurt his feelings real bad. It fucked up his dad's life. And now he has a heart to help people. But is that the person that's best qualified to help you? If you can relate to where that teacher is, that's the best teacher for you. If that teacher's been in your shoes and they've went to where you want to go, that's the best teacher for you. If that teacher is a newlywed and they just put on a wedding ring 6 months ago, and that's where you're at, and you're not in a long-term marriage, that's the teacher for you. Here, I know that my students that I attract, they have a need for speed. Well, what is there a need for speed? Depending on where you're at in the divorce process, the longer things go, and you're thinking that, well, if I am amicably in agreement in the divorce case, then that's not going to piss her off and that's going to help me restore the marriage. No, 99% of the time, that's the opposite of what you should do. Remember, how do you know that? If I'm not amicable in the divorce case, that's going to make her mad. No shit. But sometimes it might make better sense. This is the reason I explain why in the DivorceStoppers program, because about 70% of what I'm telling you to do on the surface, 100% looks like it's going to backfire. Sometimes in order to restore a marriage, when somebody has confirmation bias, we have to poke the dragon a little bit sometimes. We have to piss somebody else off sometimes. Sometimes that makes sense because that's what gets people to open up so you can build intimacy around for the first time ever actually seeing her point. Where, before I was doing this, I never saw my wife's point. And it wasn't because I didn't know how to. Let me tell you something. We have a non-student Facebook group. So it's a Facebook group where people can go and vent about what they're going through in their marriage. It's not for students. It's called Marriage Help for Men. There's a Christian in that group. I'm a Christian, but I get the most hate from the Christian community. Why? Because they say only God can restore marriages. No, God will help you if you help yourself. But somebody was saying, he's like, this guy is just teaching NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, manipulation tactics. Well, I am a certified NLP life coach. I actually got the certification. And in full transparency, when I went through that training, I learned jack shit. I should have been teaching it. And so is that what I'm doing in the program? Well, the Bible actually says, if you want the life you want, you got to have a transformation by the renewing of your mind. So there is something to that. Why? Because if your wife doesn't change her fucking mind, there is no marriage. It's all the other programs that exist out there. The reason I think they don't work is because they change the man, but they do it in a way that leaves the wife behind. And our failure as men in our marriage, our failure in our leadership as a husband, it does change our wives. It causes her to resent and puts pressure on her and puts the weight of the world on her unintentionally out of stupidity, right? But then there's a different way to do that. And if we figure out that way and then we go off and do it and we marry some younger gal that has bigger breasts, right? We can move forward with our life and have a good life. But is that fair to leave our wife behind? It's not. So standing next to a woman, I actually taught her a framework for her entire company, how to be successful on that flight from from Little Rock to Atlanta. I taught her a lot, that hour and 36-minute flight, literally a whole business course. But she asked me, what do you do for a living? I said, I help women and children have the life that they're supposed to have, how to thrive, bloom, and blossom in the garden that they are supposed to be blooming and blossoming in. How do you do that? I teach the men in their life how to fix their fuck ups, get their shit together, and then go back and help them and lead them because it's the right thing to do. That's what I do for a living. That's exactly what we're doing here. For anybody listening to this right now, we got some more content. We're not going to do a lot longer on this video. We're about to wrap things up, but the best is yet to come. But I want to ask you this. If your train is heading to game over, and maybe you've been in another program and your biceps are bigger, your dick feels 3 inches bigger, and you're feeling really good about yourself. You're doing no contact. Maybe you're listening to some guru on YouTube, which that's amazing. You've chosen to become resourceful. But if you've been listening to somebody and they're helping you change yourself, but it's not changing anybody else, your coworkers aren't coming to you and say, I see something different in you. I like it. I want some of that. If you don't see that you've started seeing your wife through new eyes, if you haven't started the process of making her feel heard, valued, and seen, if you're leaving her behind miserable, if you want to take action now, we do have that upcoming training. You better put a comment in here. I'm a subscriber and I need it on communication. But if you don't want to wait for that training, you can scan the QR code on the screen right now or go to the website that my video editor is putting up and do our free Marriage U-Turn Masterclass. That this weekend and also next week, I'm going to be teaching that free Marriage U-Turn Masterclass live 9 to 13 times. I have to look at my schedule and see what my team has scheduled. In that free Marriage U-Turn Masterclass, you'll have an opportunity to collaborate with me, but I'm going to give you the tools to take the first steps if you're struggling with communication and specifically dealing with confirmation bias. Right now, pause the video, scan the QR code, go to the website, register before the seats are filled, and then come back and listen to the rest of this video. So you tried these other things. You found out what didn't work for you. You found me and you're like, well, I don't know. That guy says he's a Christian. He uses expletives a lot. I think there might be something to this. I'll give it a shot. So you booked a call with us. What was the turning point where you made a decision where you finally said, you know what? I'm listening to this guy. I'm reading this book, but enough is enough. It's not giving me the change I need to change my wife.
Yeah, I think you're a coach, and I needed coaching and not a teacher. And I think there's a distinction. Teacher give you ideas, they have knowledge, they have facts, and they can give it to you. They can recite things, but a coach is there for you. I kind of thought about it from a basketball game perspective. You're in a basketball game, your team is down 5 points with 15 seconds left to go. You have the ball. Do you want a teacher who has read the books and has gone to school and has that, but has never actually been in that situation? Or do you want a coach who's played in that situation, who's coached teams that have come back from that deficit? And that's the analogy I thought.
Yeah.
I wanted a coach and a coaching program, and not just no something against teachers or anything, but just a coach.
Yeah.
Like, we need coaches, and you guys do coaching.
Yeah, I love that you're acknowledging that. I don't know that another student's ever said that on one of these shares. Let me ask you a question about myself. Do you think it's possible if anybody were to ask me a question that I could just answer it?
Yeah, I think
No fucking way. I can't just answer a question. I can't say, here's the answer. I've got to coach you around to make sure. What do I always say? Does that make sense? And what am I going to say before I let you off of a coaching call? 100% of the time, I'm going to say, before I let you go on the coaching session, what do I always ask?
are you comfortable with this? What is your action plan? Tell me what your action plan is.
Yeah, because I want to make sure that this was a good investment of your time. And also, my time is fucking valuable. If you're not one of my students, if I have somebody needing a little quick marriage call and they're referred to me by one of the students, I don't want to go invest 1 hour of my time with a student if I don't know that you're leaving with that, where you feel empowered, you know exactly what to do, you understand why you're doing it. That way you'll do it the right way. That, for me, I don't even know that I'll actually think of myself as a coach, even though, coaching is kind of a new trend in life coaching. But I don't even know how to really think of myself like that until you actually brought that up on this call. Maybe I think of myself as a basketball coach. I'm just showing you how to make sure you fucking get it in the hoop every time. Because if your marriage is going to hell in a handbasket, you don't have time to lose. If you're at the free throw line and you miss 3 fucking baskets in a row, that's 20 more miles further to your wife being with another man forever. And I know you don't have time to mess with that. So it's important that you know the action steps and you understand where you're taking them so you do them the right way. I love that you said that. Where would you personally be today emotionally, spiritually, and financially if you'd never met me?
I'd be in a horrible situation. I'd be blaming myself. I'd be living in despair and regret and not moving forward, living in the past, where it would just be you ask that question and terror comes in my mind of thinking about where I would be today. Probably wouldn't be sitting in my office desk. I'd be unemployed, like just so many things, but it's just, and you mentioned with your wife and your kids too, like not only would I be in a bad situation, they'd be even worse because they wouldn't have the leadership. My approach with my kids now is totally different than it was before this program.
Man, that warms my heart.
I see them much better. Like, I can't take all the credit, but they're thriving now, whereas they were struggling before, because I listened to them and I'm leading them the way God intended.
And I love it. Put in the comment if I'm about to offend you and you're a Christian. Put that in the comments right now if what I'm about to say is offensive to you. As a parent and as a husband, if you feel like you're trying to restore your marriage and you feel like your wife is so immature in the way she communicates with you, put that in the comments. Like, she's not rational. She's communicating like a 3-year-old that hasn't had its nap. Put in the comments if you feel like you're married to an emotional child. Put that in the comments right now. Now let me give you a miniature ass kicking as your coach for a second. Here's some free coaching on this call. Here's the why you feel like you're married to an emotional child. The Bible says a man finds a wife, he finds a helpmeet. Is your wife your helper? Probably not. You're married to an emotional child. You are the helper. You were trained wrong. We were all trained, go to work, make the money, come home, pay the bill, Make sure the thermostat's not set at below 72 because we're paying the damn light. That's the way that we were trained to do things. Guess what? In today's world, your wife can go get a job making more money than you. And if she can't because she doesn't have the skills, she can divorce your ass and take your money, especially if there's kids, and take your money to live very fine without you. It's set up so women don't need you anymore. They don't. So why am I saying that? The world has changed. And I think in that aspect for the better. Why? Because if you understand how to do this, you can have a relationship like your parents never had. The act of making love to your wife can become so beautiful that you understand that there is such thing as soulmates. Sexual intimacy can literally become so intimate that it's a form of worship to your creator. And this might sound crazy, but when you are taught how to see somebody and they feel heard, valued, and seen, that person will start seeing you back. Put in the comments right now if you feel like, if my wife could just see my heart, this nightmare would end. But your wife can't see you because that's never going to happen until you learn how to communicate with her in a way that she's going to feel seen. Put in the comments right now if you don't feel seen. So what was I going to say earlier? How do you make somebody feel like an adult? How do you make a wife feel like a woman? How do you get an immature, emotionally communicator wife communicating as an adult woman? You've got to restore the marriage first because it's not going to happen until after you guys are fully reconciled. It won't because it takes time. But here's how you do it. And but coincidentally, this is the same way that you raise children that are equipped to go out into the world. Because you're not really raising children, you're raising future adults. But see, we've been taught that we're raising children, which is why if you're watching this video and you're a man, you've been communicating to your wife like you're a little bit, right? Because that's how you were taught to communicate, also emotionally immature. So how does somebody mature? Well, if you don't want your children to communicate and have future marriages that or get in trouble, you've got to show them how to become an emotional adult. How do you do that? The same way you do it with your wife. And I'm not saying that women are like children, but I'm saying right now, when you first come in as a student of mine, you are communicating like an emotional child, but so is your wife. And you are teaching your children to do the same thing. How? You've unintentionally showed up to protect them and you're controlling them. You've got to give your children the freedom to learn how to become adults. How do you honor God in doing that? Put in the comments if this is going to offend you, what I'm about to say. You give up control to be in control. Denver, what does that mean? Stop showing up being responsible for your wife, which is pressure. Stop showing up to be responsible for your children, which is pressure. It's pushing them to another garden, right? Start asking yourself, what are my responsibilities to them? That's powerful when you make that paradigm shift. But Denver, how do I do this? What's the first step? Give them permission to fail, fall, and fuck up. That honors God because it gives them the freedom to learn and emotionally mature. That gives a woman the freedom to actually emotionally mature and be a woman in the marriage. See, a lot of you watching this right now, you're married to the physical body of a woman, but in her mind, within the context of the relationship with you, make her feel like a child, and she doesn't like it. It makes her feel pressure. And put in the comments if your wife is saying, I've got to be free. You make me feel like a child. I've got to go find myself. That's confirming what I'm telling you. And that's what we're teaching you how to start turning around in the free Marriage U-Turn Masterclass with the barcode on the screen that you can scan right now or the website denvergriffin.com to register for that. If you know that's where you're at, my video editor is going to put up right now a different barcode that I've only put up 5 times in 2 years. It's the link to actually book a strategy session call with us if you know you're running out of time. On this strategy session call, we will find out what's your unique situation that you're going through. Everybody, it's a little bit different. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to restore it, but 999 times out of 1,000, it does make sense. If you're not sure if your marriage is salvageable, then scan the QR code on the screen right now. Or if you don't have a scanner, go to the link in the description. It's called Book a Call. Book a strategy session call with us, and we'll walk you through, is it possible? Can you save the marriage and can you turn it around? I will tell you in advance, I don't sugarcoat this. The Bible says, wise is the man that brings the grain into the storehouse. Blessed is he who sells it. This program is a high ticket coaching program, and it is priced, I think, well below the value that we're providing in the program. If you're in a place where that doesn't make sense for you, if you have bad credit and you're poor, you don't need my program. That's the problem in your marriage. You need to go check out my good friend, Dave Ramsey, and he will help you restore your marriage by getting your financial house in order. God has not called me to work for free. I help poverty and poor people all over the world. This program, it is not one of them. By the way, my wife and I did help this was a nonprofit for 8 years until we turned it into we sold all of our insurance brokerage firms and went in all on this, hearts all in. And this is now our company that we use to help people all over the world. Your comeback, your masculine rebuild. Have you ever looked in the mirror and told yourself in the program, I'm happy, I'm happy? If you've done that, or even if you haven't, what does happiness now look like for you today as a man?
I have done that. I do that almost every day. Happiness is knowing or having the tools to be a leader with my wife and with others in an emotionally secure masculine way. And that makes me happy. And I'm not dependent on other people's reactions or thoughts. It's me, and I'm in control of my destiny. And you mentioned about the control, not controlling other people. I'm not controlling them, but my leadership is going to develop them. And that's where my responsibility is. I'm not responsible for them. I'm responsible to them with my leadership.
Let me ask you if you've shared the same experience. When I woke up to that, I literally remember when I learned to do this. The next morning, I literally woke up and I had been on anxiety medication. I was on Xanax because I was so stressed out going through all this. But when I had this paradigm shift to give up control, to be in control of my own future. And if I was in control of my own future, other people would go. That positioned me as a leader in a way I'd never led before. That morning, after I learned everything that we're talking about right now, for the first time in months when I woke up, I could breathe without Xanax. Put in the comments if you understand. If you feel like you need asthma medication or anxiety because you constantly feel like you're having a panic attack. When I learned to give up control of other people, that's when I started having influence on them, and they were changing around me. The changes that I had always wanted my wife and children to make didn't start. I stopped trying to change them. That's what changed them. That's what I mean when I say working on the marriage, 100% will never work. You got to change your wife. How? Stop trying to change her, but change yourself. Do it in a way through communication that she'll want to follow that lead. Masculine, you use the word masculine. All the other programs use that masculine word. Would you say that in this program, masculinity means something different than it means in the other YouTube channels?
I think it does. I think it's about leadership, masculine leadership and communication.
It also teaches your wife doesn't want to be first. What do I mean by that? Putting her first is pressure. What is that? What's the anointing and calling? It's the reason you're on the earth. You've been lied your whole life from the time you were a little boy. You've all been lied to. Poverty, lack, poor health that has plagued your family. You might be the entrepreneur that finally broke to 6 figures and 7 figures, but it's plagued your family. And you're still living in some limited beliefs because your eyes haven't been fully opened yet. That's what we do here. That is what I mean when I say we're teaching you how to be a 1% of a 1% of man. Why? Because the 1% of a 1% of man will pursue his legacy. He will pursue his calling. He'll do it in a way that they will want to follow that. That's how you get a helper, and that's how you help them. And this, coincidentally, is the best thing for them. This will make your wife stop needing to go to the grass is greener on the other side. And for a lot of you, you know your wife is a flower, but you have no fucking idea what color it is because you've never you've never fertilized it and watered it so that it could bloom. And it's a really bad place to be in a marriage where you have no idea what color the petals of the flower in your garden is. But here's what it is also. Because you've been deceived, you have kept that flower as a bud for 5 years, for 20 years. When you see that thing bloom, an elephant gets off your chest, and now all of a sudden the pressure you've been putting on your wife it goes away. It's not true anymore. It changes her story. And it also starts the process of reattracting her back to the new light that's in you because you have a gift and the world deserves it. Nobody that I've ever come across is teaching this practically. How many of you put in the comments if you're going to your preacher for help? I love the church. I'm a Christian, and every fiber of my being is to honor my Creator with my action steps, with my mouth. You will never hear anything that comes out of my mouth, according to my opinion, that's not for the sake of building you up and edifying and help you. Even the expletives. Denver, why do you do expletives? The Bible says don't let unwholesome talk come out of your mouth. You going and telling people what your wife is doing and how bad your marriage is speaking death into the marriage. That's unwholesome talk. Me trying to get you to wake the fuck up and do something differently, that's edifying and building you up. To take action, to align action with your faith. Faith without works is dead. But Denver, I've been doing all this stuff, it's not working because you found some idiot that's teaching you the wrong way to do it. Change who you're listening to. Masculine leadership is about the plants and the flowers in your garden. The 1% of man. And you will never see the colors of those flowers if you don't learn how to put your anointing and your calling first and make sure you're not leaving anybody behind. How has your outlook on your vision for yourself, for your life, for your business, your finances, your family, your legacy, how has it changed? I know you came into this with the goal to restore the marriage, but I'm hoping that even where you're at now, there's a vision for not just a marriage, but for all of this stuff in a way you're like, wow, there is so much more possibilities than I ever saw before. If you've experienced that, if you haven't, it's okay to be honest.
No, it has, like, kind of going on the flower example, like with my wife and family, is letting that flower blossom. What I was doing before, an analogy, was I was trying to keep the weeds away. I was focused on the weeds outside of the flower and trying to protect the flower from things coming into it. But I did nothing to provide sunlight, to provide water, or to provide soil for that flower blossom. I tried to keep the weeds out. I thought that's all I needed to do.
Yeah, because that's what we're taught to do. You were literally taught that by your preacher, probably. And you were taught that by TV. You were taught that by social media. You were taught that by society, 100%. And it is literally the opposite. Why? We're actually dealing with the spiritual battle. There is a demonic force on this earth that is attacking identity, that's attacking masculinity, and that's attacking marriages. And it's on purpose. What we're doing here is we're counteracting that, but we're doing it in a way that I wish the church would actually start doing also, is we're cutting through the bullshit to show you what practically works. And it doesn't matter what your faith is, even though I will tell you it is biblically based. It 100% is biblically based. I'm not targeting though, and I'm not advertising it as a Christian program. Why? Because I'm not your typical Christian. I offend typical Christians. How do we restore your marriage? I offend the fucking change out of my students because it is not necessarily going to be what you think you should be doing. Quite the opposite. Almost every step. Would you say it's true or false?
I'd say it's true. Yeah, it's something seemed counterintuitive. You question it, you challenge it, but you explain why. Like you don't just say do it. Trust me. You're like, this is why. This is a change you're going to see in her. And yeah, it might, you're going to piss her off, but this is the reason why. And that can be hard to accept, but you get the first couple wins, and you know what you're talking about. You've done this. You've gone through this.
I don't know if you know this or not, but something that we do today for years in this program, when I would say stuff that I would have like a bunch of students, like a coaching session. Okay, I'm going to go do it. And then the next week, they're like, well, I didn't do that. I did this, but I didn't do that. Why didn't you do that? Well, I was worried. So I'm like, okay, so for years, we did not have a community. So what I mean by that is my students couldn't see my other students. And so anytime I had a student that was resisting to the coaching that I was giving, they would always say, okay, well, I trust you, Denver. And I'm like, the only ones that are not going as fast as they should be are the ones that's telling me they're trusting me. How do we fix that? I literally prayed and fasted about that for 2 weeks. I'm like, God, this is not good. How do I fix the student saying I trust you because it's holding them back? How do I get them to stop trusting me? I don't want anybody to trust me. And fellowship. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. So now today we have iron sharpens iron groups. And in the groups, I always kept them in batches of 50. Today, you're the group you're in. We started Let Grow. And I think that group is at close to 400 now. But the reason that we did that is for the following. On those days that I give you a coaching session and you have fear around doing it because you're like, this is going to make her mad. This is going to backfire. I'm like, it's supposed to look like it's going to backfire and it's supposed to make her mad, at least in this coaching session. What gives you the faith to go do it? You see your other brothers and they're saying, dude, this worked. And I'm still like, to this day, the stuff that I know that works, I'm still astonished that it works, but I know that it works. And if one thing doesn't work, we know with enough time, over a decade that I've been doing this now, we know the other things that will, because we're dealing with humans. So what works for one person may not always work for the other, which is why we have the live coaching call. Let me ask you this though. This was the last question. So on the inside, you see what's happening with the other men, their experiences. Can you share some of the transformations that you witnessed hourly, daily, and weekly?
Oh, it's been incredible seeing new people join the program and seeing their first postings of not just necessarily just full on despair, but I don't think this is going to work, or like, this is making me nervous. Like, I don't think I can do it. And then other people in the community will say, I felt the same way, but trust me, it works. I did this. And within a week, wife was responding back to me, playfully initiating the text. Like, that makes such a difference. And to see people have come in and have had that apprehension and that anxiety to move forward, but then, it's trusting the process. And not, as Denver says, you don't trust Denver, you trust the process. You trust seeing what other people have said, their experiences. And seeing that has been enlightening. Honestly, waking up in the morning and one of the first things I do is go to Facebook and look at the messages and see what the progress people are making. It's in restoring their marriages and their relationships. It's incredible. And the group, I've made great friends through the group that were on the coaching calls, but then talking. I have dozens that are Facebook friends and have their phone numbers now, and we're reaching out. And it's just incredible. It makes such a difference. And
I love that. And for anybody listening, if you're like, well, what is that Facebook group? The Facebook group that he's talking about is for our students, for our paid students at DivorceStoppers. We have a support group and we call it Iron Sharpens Iron. And you can't get in it unless you're a student. But if you look at all the other Facebook groups that are out there where people are standing for their marriage, everybody's praying for each other. It's all these different marriage groups, single dads helping dads, and all this different stuff. If you look at every one of those groups, here's what you're seeing for the most part. How do I know? Because I looked at them. For the most part, you see a bunch of losers helping each other and praying for each other and helping each other feel good about losing. It's losers helping losers lose, and all of their marriages are ending and their lives are going to hell in a handbasket. I'm not saying that in a way to condemn those people. I'm saying that in a way, if that's you, put in the comments if you're tired of being in some group or a program where it's losers helping losers feel good about losing. I'm praying for you, brother. Hang in there. We got you. Guess what? I believe in prayer. I'm the recipient of a medically diagnosed miracle that was instantaneous, that saved my life. I saw 3 angels. One of them spoke to me. I believe in miracles, but even I did not get my miracle until I walked in obedience to take action steps. Then the next day, I got my miracle. Angel showed up in my bedroom, spoke to me. I got instructions. I followed them. I got my miracle the next morning. I did not give it all to God. Why? If you're in a Facebook group and it's losers helping you feel good about losing, and it's ruining your life because you're getting consoled, guess what? Are you uncomfortable in those programs or those groups? Probably not. Guess what? Your life will not go where you want it to go, and your marriage will absolutely not go where you want it to go until you take steps that do not make sense to you. They are probably the exact opposite of what you're feeling, what you think you should do, And initially, it will be very uncomfortable. We have a program to help you become uncomfortable, but no fear. We also have a support structure of brothers that have went before you that were uncomfortable, that's literally posting on an hourly basis the results of what the uncomfortable got them, the good fruit that came out of that. That way, after a few days of being uncomfortable, you're like, you know what? This is just working. So it's not really uncomfortable because the fear and the apprehension I initially had, so far it's working. So I'm going to boldly take the next step. It's the opposite of what they do in marriage counseling. It's the opposite of what my preacher told me. What, Denver? You don't believe in the Bible? Yes, I do. I don't necessarily believe in your preacher's interpretation of the Bible. Why? If he hasn't been in your shoes, it's a freaking badass black guy, and he knows the Bible like the back of his hand. And he's teaching practical skills for not for marriage, but just for life. And I watch him all the time. I love it. Actually, I'm going to start supporting his ministry. But everybody, I'll share who he is. I'm going to give a shout out to that guy. I think it's called It's Church Life. Black guy with dreadlocks that's been through hell. He can probably relate to some of what you're going through. Not specifically, but the scenario where you can take the framework he's teaching. If you're seeking another word of God preacher, go check out It's Church Life. I love that guy. But with that being said, if you're in one of those groups and you know it's actually leading you to hell, do me a favor. Scan the QR code on the screen right now. Book a call with us before it's too late. Put time on your side. Stop leaning on your own understanding. Stop being delusional like I was for 4 months, thinking I was going to wake up one day and the nightmare was over. This is when I had a paradigm shift myself. I had been separated from my wife for 4 months, divorce case filed, attorney letters coming in hot and furious. I hadn't slept good in 4 months. I was exhausted. Guess what happened? About 2:00 in the afternoon, I said, I'm going to lay down for a second. And from having 4 months of no sleep, I literally passed out. My body passed out to protect itself so I didn't die. I didn't wake up until the afternoon the next day. I had slept for over 24 hours because I think my body just said, we're going to shut you down so you don't have a heart attack from exhaustion. I woke up the next day. I never will forget this. The worst moment of my life. I got up, I went and peed. I'm like looking for my wife. I had slept so hard, I forgot I was in an active divorce. I went upstairs, got me a drink of water, and I'm like, say, baby, where you at? And I picked up my phone to text her. And it hit me like a shit ton of bricks. Dude, you are in living hell. And that was the day that everything changed. If that's you and you're in living hell, stop being naive and delusional to think that it's just going to fix itself. If you haven't found somebody that's in your shoes, that has taken it where you want to go, and they can specifically teach you who, what, where, when, why, and how to take the steps necessary to turn it around, it's never going to work until you do something different. Get off the hamster wheel. Also, if you have given your marriage to God and you think that He is going to just magically do a miracle for you without you showing up to do something that you are not doing now, that is possible. God is God. But it would be a rare exception. If you are addicted to that belief, watch this video that my video editor is putting up right now, and that's going to help you understand a little bit where you're at. Scott, in closing, if there's a guy right now that is hopeless, he's in another program, he's in those groups, his life, his marriage, his wife, his children, his legacy, it's going to hell. He literally is overwhelmed with grief, and he has tried some things. He went to the wrong resources, or he doesn't even know where they are. He's never heard of a coaching program because they're kind of a new trend. This guy's ready to give up because he sees no future. What would you tell that guy in closing, and why?
Don't give up. Join this program. It will make a difference. I was in the similar shoes. Don't worry about the past. Just make the decision today to join the program and join the group. It'll change. It'll be game changing without a doubt.
All right, Sherrod, I appreciate you sharing that. Watch the video. This is going to help you want to figure out if your wife has a wall up and you want God to bring it down for you. Watch this next video, and we're going to show you how to actually align your actions with your goals so that you position yourself with the new you so that God will bring that wall down for you. And it's very, very easy when you understand how to actually march around the right wall.